Mr. President, I move that further proceedings under the roll call be dispensed with and the Sergeant at Arms be instructed to bring in the absent members.
On that motion, all in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Members, if you'd be so kind as to stand. Members, ordinarily we would have our chaplain here, or a chaplain here, but from time to time we will have a moment of silence. Today is going to be such a moment. I ask that as you reflect and have that moment of silence, center yourselves so that we can continue to think about the great work that we must do in these chambers. Moment of silence. Thank you so much. Now we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, members. The Secretary will take the roll.
Abler, Anderson, Barr, Bolden, Carlson, Champion, Coleman, Swadzinski, Dames, Dibble, Dornick, Draheim, Drazkowski, Duckworth, Diedzik, Eichhorn, Farnsworth, Fateh, Friends, Green, Grunhagen, Gustafson, Hochschild, Herr, Hoffman, Housley, Howe, Jasinski, Johnson, Klein, Coran, Kroon, Kunish, Kopek, Lang, Latz, Liskey, Limmer, Lucero, Mann, Marty, Matthews, May Quaid, McEwen, Miller, Mitchell, Mohammed, Morrison, Murphy, Nelson, Umuver Baton, Pappas, Pa, Port, Pratt, Putnam, Rarick, Rasmussen, Rest, Seeberger, Utke, Weber, Wiesenberg, Westland, Westrom, Wickland, Zhang.
Members, pursuant to Rule 14.1, the following members intend to vote under Rule 40.7. Diedzik, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Latz, St. Louis Park, Minnesota. May Quaid, St. Louis Park, Minnesota. Members, a quorum is present. Members, as usual, if you want to follow along, you can go to the Senate agenda that is dated for today, Tuesday, March 14, 2023. We will start at the second order of business, executive and official communications. The following communications were received and referred as indicated. Members, no action is required. Members, we will now proceed to the fifth order of business, report of committees. Senator Friends, for a motion to adopt the committee reports.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the committee reports printed in the agenda be adopted and ask for a roll call.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Any discussions? Seeing none, the Secretary will take the roll. Members, please vote. Senator Bolden, those voting under Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Dietzick votes aye.
I'm sorry, repeat.
Thank you, Mr. President. I report that Senator Dietzick votes aye.
Dietzick votes aye.
I report that Senator Latz votes aye.
Latz votes aye.
I report that Senator May Quaid votes aye.
May Quaid votes aye. Members, please vote. All senators having voted who desires to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There being 44 ayes and 16 noes, the motion prevails. Members, we will now proceed to the sixth order of business, second reading of Senate bills. The secretary will read the Senate file numbers.
Senate file numbers 843, 1530, 2687, 1291, 2570, 1710, and 618.
The Senate files have been given their second reading. Members, we will now proceed to the seventh order of business, second reading of House files. The secretary will read the House file numbers.
House file numbers 669, 670, and 1104.
The House files have been given their second reading. Members, we will now proceed to the eighth order of business, which is the introduction and first reading of Senate bills. The bills are listed on today's introduction calendar, are given their first reading, and referred as indicated. Members, we will now proceed to the ninth order of business, motions and resolutions. We will adopt the author's motion as one motion. All in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Senate File 96 be withdrawn from the Committee on Capital Investment and re-referred to the Committee on Human Services.
Senator Putnam moves that Senate File number 96 be withdrawn from the Committee on Capital Investments and re-referred to the Committee on Human Services. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Senator Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I have three for you. The first one is I move Senate File 2036 be withdrawn from the Committee on Capital Investment and referred to the Committee on Energy, Utilities, Environment, and Climate.
And Senator Hoffman, this is your bill, and you've had a conversation and agreement from both chairs?
That's a full affirmative, Mr. President.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President,
Senator Pappas, for what purpose do you rise?
I beg to differ. Senator Hoffman has not gotten my permission. Would you ask me right now, though?
Hold it. I think that you all have to remember you have to speak through the president.
Mr. President, would you please ask Senator Hoffman to ask me for my permission?
Are you asking Senator Hoffman to yield?
Yes, I am.
Senator Hoffman, will you yield? He will yield. Senator Pappas.
Senator Hoffman, would you please ask me for my permission?
Senator Hoffman, to the question.
To the question, Mr. President, would the good senator from St. Paul give me permission to have this bill withdrawn and put to the appropriate committee that the other body decided on? Thank you.
Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. President, and Senator Hoffman, with pleasure.
Now, Senator Hoffman moves that Senate File number 2036 be withdrawn from the Committee on Capital Investments and re-referred to the Committee on Energy, Utilities, Environment, and Climate. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. No. The motion prevails. Senator Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I move that Senate File 2616 be withdrawn from the Committee on Health and Human Services and referred to the Committee on Human Services.
Senator Hoffman, this is your bill, and you've had a chance to talk to both chairs, including yourself?
Mr. President, I did. Thank you.
Senator Hoffman moves that Senate File 2616 be withdrawn from the Committee on Health and Human Services and re-referred to the Committee on Human Services. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion prevails. Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Senate File number 2648 be withdrawn from the Committee on State and Local Government and Veterans and re-referred to the Committee on Transportation. This is my bill, and I have been in contact with the committees and have their permission.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Senator Seeberger moves that Senate File number 2648 be withdrawn from the Committee on State and Local Governments and Veterans and re-referred to the Committee on Transportation. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion prevails. Senator Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will Senator Murphy yield, please?
Senator Murphy will yield. Senator Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Murphy, Senate File 2697. I'm trying to withdraw from the Committee on State and Local Government and Veterans to go to Health and Human Services. It's my understanding that staff talked to staff, but it just dawned on me since the good senator from St. Paul reminded me that I wasn't from my lips to the person that was there, and I appreciate the good senator from St. Paul. The other good senator from St. Paul, would you be okay if I withdrew Senate File 2697 from your committee?
Senator Murphy, to the question.
Thank you, Mr. President, and Senator Hoffman. This good senator from St. Paul is aware of this motion and grants her permission, if that is being asked, in order to move this bill from state and local government to another committee.
Senator Hoffman, any additional? Nothing additional. Thank you. Senator Hoffman moved that Senate File number 2697 be withdrawn from the Committee on State and Local Governments and Veterans and re-referred to the Committee on Health and Human Services. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion prevails. Senator Fateh.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Senate File 2724 be withdrawn from the Committee on Judiciary and Public Safety and re-referred to the Committee on State and Local Government and Veterans. Both chairs are aware, and this is my bill.
Senator Fateh moves that Senate File number 2724 be withdrawn from the Committee on Judiciary and Public Safety and re-referred to the Committee on State and Local Governments and Affairs. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Senator Eichhorn. I don't see my good senator. Senator Friends.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. I move that Senate File 2847 be withdrawn from the Committee on Commerce and Consumer Protection and re-referred to the Committee on Energy, Utilities, Environment, and Climate. This is my bill, and I have the approval of both chairs, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Friends. Senator Friends moves that Senate File number 2847 be withdrawn from the Committee on Commerce and Consumer Protection and re-referred to the Committee on Energy, Utilities, Environment, and Climate. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion prevails. Members, we will now move, we will remain under motion and resolutions, and I am now calling on Senator Friends.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Pursuant to Rule 26, I designate the following bills be made special orders for immediate consideration. Members, the list is on your desk.
Thank you. Calling on Senator Gustafson for House File 5. Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill provides universal lunch and breakfast to all Minnesota school students free of charge by creating a school meals program within MDE. Right now, as we sit here in the Senate chamber, an estimated 274,886 students are on free and reduced meals in Minnesota. Roughly 1 in 6 children are food insecure. That means they don't know where or when their next meal will be available if they get one at all. Moving beyond students in this category, Minnesota Department of Education estimates that around 18.5% of students likely qualify for free reduced meals, but are not getting free and reduced price meals for a variety of reasons. The most likely reason is that they haven't completed the form to prove they qualify. Some families worry about the process of paperwork. Some have language barriers that make the forms hard to understand. Some families are dealing with a crisis like a divorce or a job loss. Instability, like a recent move, and completing the form is unfamiliar. While we don't know what problems every family is facing, we shouldn't make children pay the price or go hungry at school for problems that are out of their control. And then there are the families who are just over that line of poverty. Life is difficult, money is still very tight, the food supply is still unpredictable. Having a breakfast and lunch provided at school is one less thing, one less worry for these families. The peace of mind knowing their children will have a guaranteed breakfast and lunch means real and tangible support for Minnesota students and parents. And then there are the families who don't qualify for free reduced price meals but could probably still use a break. Parents have a lot to worry about already. In my district, a family in White Bear Lake with 2 students would save around $1,872 per school year. Everyone in this chamber campaigned on putting money back in the pockets of families we represent. That's what this bill will do. Look at it like a lunchbox tax cut. It gives money back to families. But let's put all that aside. Besides the healthy meals and giving money back to families, feeding kids at school is the right thing to do. Being hungry makes learning almost impossible. There is no worksheet or assignment, test, or project that will matter to a student who hasn't had anything to eat. There's not a reading program or a math strategy that will improve scores if a student doesn't know where their next meal is coming from. We cannot effectively invest in our education system without ensuring all students have access to school meals. We want students focused on learning, not stressing about if there's enough money in their lunch account. With so many students facing mental health challenges, this is the one thing that we can take off their minds. Today, we have a chance to do something really good for kids, for parents, for teachers and schools. We can vote yes today and make sure next school year every student gets breakfast and lunch at school. Let's do that. Let's feed the kids. On your desks, you're going to see letters of support from Allina Health, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Children's Hospital, Minnesota Farmers Union, Minnesota School Social Workers Association, General Mills, Second Harvest Heartland, and so many more. I want to thank Senator Kunish, Senator McQuaid, Senator Mann for signing on to this bill early. I'm also proud to say this bill has bipartisan support. In the second week of January, Senator Duckworth came to my office and asked to be on this bill. He said, quote, "This bill is the right thing to do," something he felt strongly about after talking with his own kids. This bill also passed without opposition out of Ed Policy and Ed Finance. In good faith, I met with so many of you individually. I sent you all a letter. I had good conversations with you in the retiring room, during committees, and in the elevator. I welcomed your questions and was genuinely curious how we could improve this bill. Unfortunately, no one came to my office, no one called, no one mentioned any amendments. So I'm new, and maybe this is wishful thinking, but a bill that would ensure that every student, kindergarten through 12th grade in Minnesota, would get the food that they need while they're at school seems like an easy yes vote. And a bill that would be a tax cut for families seems like an easy yes vote. We really don't have to fight about everything. We can do good things together. Today, let's just feed the kids. I thank you for listening. I thank you for your consideration. I look forward to your support.
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it, and my thanks to Senator Gustafson for sharing the conversation we had in her office about this bill in particular. Here's the deal. You know, we're a room full of elected officials that are seeking to serve the state and do well by all of the people of Minnesota. And for me personally, some of the folks that I pay most attention to serving in our state are our little kids. I've got a few myself, and I see them off to school in the morning, ask them about their day when they get back. I was on a school board when the pandemic set in. And I watched our school district pivot and begin to provide food to people who would go out of their way to drive to our schools simply to pick up meals to feed their kids. I also had an opportunity to visit some local food shelves and watched lines and lines of vehicles and families still come by and try to take advantage of many of the food offerings that occur throughout the state free of charge, which shows there's a demonstrated need for something like this. And unfortunately, the cost of living is only continuing to increase for the people of our country and for Minnesotans, of course. And so what we don't have here is a disagreement that there is a need that should be served. What we do potentially have a disagreement about is how to go about doing that, Mr. President. And I'll give you an example. And many folks hear me say this, and they may get annoyed by it in the Education Policy Committee, but I always say, we're not necessarily looking at these bills in a silo. What we're trying to do is look at everything that we're seeking to pass in its totality and how they're going to impact one another and our communities and the state. And I'll give you an example. So far this legislative session, we've already spent about $425 million. And if you look at some of the other bills that are floating around out there and being considered, they have some pretty hefty price tags. I'll list a few for you. This bill in particular is about $420 million over the next 2 years. There's a bill out there for housing rent assistance that is projected to cost about $2 billion. If we were to increase the formula for our schools and the class size reduction component of that bill, that would cost the state about $4 billion. Paid family leave is estimated to cost maybe $2 billion, could be more. If we take a bite out of the special education cross subsidy, that could be about $1 billion. And so when we look at all the potential bills that are being carried in the legislature, and they already amount to about $10 billion, and we know there are more out there. I haven't even talked about Health and Human Services. And oh, by the way, that's before we're accounting for returning any of the $17.5 billion in surplus to taxpayers. So here's the issue I have, Mr. President. This is a great bill. I was expecting it to come as a part of an education finance comprehensive bill where we can look at things more holistically so that as legislators we can look at the entirety of the money from the taxpayers we have to work with and make some smart decisions as we weigh and balance the many needs that we see across the state. And so for that reason, Mr. President, I would hope that we could table this bill and bring it up later in session as a part of the education finance bill and pass a more comprehensive bill for our schools. So for that reason, Mr. President, I motion to table this bill.
Senator Duckworth has put forth a motion to lay the bill on the table pursuant to Rule 28.1. If you look at 28.2, it says that this motion is non-debatable. The second, is there a roll call requested on this?
I request a roll call, Mr. President.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. The secretary will take the roll. Senator Bowden, those voting under Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. I report that Senator Dietzick votes no.
Senator Dietzick votes no.
I report that Senator Latz votes no.
Senator Latz votes no.
And I report that Senator May Quaid votes no.
Senator May Quaid votes no. Got it right down. Oh, I did? Oh, I thought I did. I pressed. Thank you. Members, please vote. All senators voting having a desire to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There have been 28 ayes and 35 noes. The motion to lay the bill on the table fails. Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. President. And that is a little unfortunate that we decided not to lay the bill on the table. I would concur with Senator Duckworth that this is not the time to be taking this bill up on the Senate floor. There are a number of reasons. We still do not have targets yet for our committee areas. And here we have a bill in front of us for $420+ million that by taking this up today, Mr. President, we are saying this is our top priority in education spending this year. I don't know about you, Mr. President, but this is not what I heard from any of my constituents as I was out campaigning this last year when it came to education. Since becoming the lead on the Education Committee, I've had a number of folks reaching out, from superintendents, school boards, teachers. This has not been an issue that any of them have brought forward. What I have heard consistently is the need for a formula increase, need for special education cross-subsidy help, more mental health assistance in our schools. Many of our rural schools have transportation needs that are going unmet. For years around here, Mr. President, we have been talking about debt service equalization as well as operating referendum equalization. And we've heard a number of bills recently and from school districts about facility maintenance, all of which are higher priorities from our schools than this bill in front of us today. And there are a number of concerns that we have as well with the bill, and with that, I would, when we're talking $420+ million, Mr. President, and other uses that money could go towards, I would like to offer the A11 amendment.
Senator Rarick, did you say the A7?
11.
11. Senator Rarick offers the A11 amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Rarick moves to amend House File Number 5, the first unofficial engrossment as follows. Page 2, line 30, delete the second and. This is the A11 amendment.
Senator Rarick, to your amendment, to the A11 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, the A11 amendment looks to put a cap on who is eligible to receive the free meals. We've been hearing repeatedly about the need that is out there. As I look at the numbers that we have today, 31.5% of Minnesota students qualify for free and reduced meals in Minnesota right now. We've been hearing that 18.5% are still not falling under that classification and have need. So my simple math says that 60% of Minnesota students have need of assistance. This bill is going far beyond and saying 100% of Minnesota students will get this assistance. So that's 40% of Minnesota students that do not show a need that we're taking account for in this bill and using money that could be used for a number of the issues that I spoke to before we presented the amendment, Mr. President. The amendment I have in front of you doesn't even begin to go after the 40%, but this would be a self-reporting measure for families that they would file with each school district that they are eligible to get school lunches. And what this would say is families that make over $500,000 a year would not be eligible. So we're not requiring the schools to dig into their finances or anything like that. We're just asking people to self-report. It may be a family that feels they can provide these meals without assistance, even though they don't make over $500,000. They could report to the school that they're not eligible. If a family makes over $500,000 but feels they want the free meals, they don't report as eligible and they would get the free meals. So, but this allows for families that do not feel they need that assistance to basically opt out so that we can lower the amount that would be going towards free meals so that it could go towards things like the formula or special education cross-subsidy or any of the other number of things that we have heard repeatedly from superintendents, school boards, teachers, and families, what the priorities are in our schools for our school spending. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Friends, to the A11 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a roll call.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Senator Gustafson, we're going to wait until we see if there's anyone else that wants to speak to the A11. Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just remind everybody the proposed increase is less than 1% of the state's education budget. And any time that we are going to do a means testing for this, we're going to create more work and paperwork for our school districts. I see in the amendment that it is asking for forms to be collected, that those would be self-reported. I believe that we've stated several times that forms are cumbersome, they are unreliable, and they are not an accurate way of counting which kids need to be counted in order to make sure all kids K through 12 in Minnesota get the proper food that they need in schools. I would urge a no vote on the amendment.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, the secretary. Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry to my colleague for stepping on the final word, as it were. Although I think actually Senator Rarick is the final word, right? Mr. President, I just wanted to speak very quickly to the kind of the gist and the thrust of this amendment. I would be speaking against the amendment. I'm sure you're not surprised. But it really gets to the issue of whether or not this initiative should be universal. There should be universality or not. Members, I'll just disclose at the outset, I was one of those kids who had to go get free lunch tickets at school. This was back in the days when we weren't nearly quite as enlightened, and I had to go and very conspicuously go get my lunch tickets from the school secretary. The tickets didn't look any different or weren't marked differently, but I had to go get them, and she handed them across her desk to me, and I attended a school that was an open architecture school, so literally the entire school could go see me do that, and there was no small amount of embarrassment and stigma and shame that was attached to having to do that. So fast forward to just a few years ago, and we have laws now that say that districts cannot mark or stigmatize or call out young people, that they need to provide meals to students in a respectful manner, ensure that any reminder for payment of outstanding student meal balances do not demean or stigmatize any child. Districts can't limit participation in any school activities, graduation ceremonies. No people's rights or privileges may be denied or abridged. Nevertheless, Mr. President, despite having that law on the books, an organization that advocates for young people and young people of limited means has collected within this last year 124 published school policies posted on those district websites that communicate intentions to potentially and improperly refuse meal service, give children alternate meals of varying quality, charge them for substandard meals, issue verbal warnings, deny snack milks and juices to small children with delinquent lunch accounts, block children from sharing food with children who lack lunches, prohibit them from sharing meal credits, and block students with lunch account deficits from graduation activities. So, Mr. President, the goal and intent of Senator Gustafson is to create a universality of access to school meals, much like we have for transportation and other kinds of just basic education services that young people need to get to and to do well in school with no distinction, no barrier. Senator Rarick's goals can be achieved in his amendment. There's nothing stopping a family from writing a check to the school and making private arrangements. But the universality nature creates that larger sense of public good, full participation, removes all those issues automatically that I just described. So I thank Senator Gustafson for her underlying bill and would urge a no vote on the Rarick amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any additional discussion? I want to make sure that no one else wants to speak before the author, who gets the last word. Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I would encourage a yes vote on the amendment. As mentioned, the increase in paperwork, this is just a simple yes, I'm eligible, or no, I'm not eligible form that could be filled out on the very first day of school. This is not a burden on our school districts, and so this does help potentially lower the cost of this provision to allow for spending in areas of greater need within our schools. So members, Mr. President, please vote yes.
The Secretary will take the roll on the A11 amendment. Senator Bowden, those voting under Rule 40.7.
Mr. President, thank you. I report that Senator Dietzick votes no.
Senator Dietzick votes no.
I report that Senator Latz votes no.
Senator Latz votes no.
And I report that Senator May Quaid votes no.
Senator May Quaid votes no. Members, please vote. All senators having voted who desires to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There being 27 ayes and 35 noes, the amendment is not adopted. Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. And I appreciate Senator Dibble sharing his personal story. You know, before my family moved to the state of Minnesota, we lived in the great state of Iowa. Please don't hold that against me. And when I went to middle school there, you know, my family comes from humble means. And there was a program where a student could eat lunch for free if they helped to serve lunch. And being the oldest of a family with 4 little boys to some very young parents, I would sneak out of class a little bit early before lunch. I would link up with the lunch ladies, and I would help to serve my friends and classmates lunch as they came through the line before we went and had lunch. And we would wait until all the kids had come through line, and whatever girl I had a crush on, I would try to give the biggest piece of pizza to. And if you were my buddy, I would try to help you out a little bit here and there. Everybody would get done, and then I would get a chance to go through the line and grab whatever I wanted for lunch. And I'd race to go sit down with my friends who were usually already done eating by then, and we would catch up and go about our day. So that's why I appreciate where this bill is coming from. There are no doubt kids out there who are struggling when it comes to being provided food. It's not all kids, but it's more than you would know and more than you would guess. And I've talked to a lot of teachers specifically about this bill because they are the boots on the ground. They know the kids. They know the kids that come to them privately, asking for a snack, asking for food, asking for a bite to eat for a younger sibling. And that's not something that we all have awareness about. It's not something that even the community necessarily always knows about because sometimes it just gets taken care of. Which is why I was happy to work together on this bill with Senator Gustafson, and I appreciate her willingness to try to identify or provide solutions for some of the shortcomings or some of the, what I would say are valid concerns regarding this bill. And I appreciate the work she has done in that regard. Oftentimes we say no bill is perfect. I think the intent of this one is a good one, and it seeks to accomplish a noble cause, but we're going to have some conversations about how it could maybe do that job even better. And one of the ways in which it could do that is, you know, we have a significant issue with the special education cross-subsidy in the state of Minnesota. Our school districts are supposed to receive funds from the federal government and from the state to help fund special education for students all across the state. But we know, because we've had this conversation as a legislature for years, that special education cross-subsidy is not always or has not been fully funded. And one of the concerns that I've gotten from districts in my Senate district and across the state is they are a little fearful that the state is potentially going to mandate this universal program. And sure, we might fund it for the next coming 2 years, but what if the state of Minnesota fails to fund it after that? Well, then our districts, our communities, are going to be on the hook for $400+ million every 2 years to abide by a program that we have mandated on them if we fail to fund it, like we have failed to fund, in some instances, other potential mandates. And that's a huge concern. I understand this is a universal meal bill for all kids. Well, I can tell you there is universal agreement that there are still some issues with this bill. And so, Mr. President, I would like to offer the A14 amendment.
Senator Duckworth offers the A14 amendment. At the appropriate time, the Secretary will report the A14 amendment.
Senator Duckworth moves to amend House File Number 5, the first unofficial engrossment, as follows. Page 2, line 31, after 2, insert. This is the A14 amendment.
Senator Duckworth, to your A14 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. This amendment adds this language. It's very short and very sweet. It would add to the bill this: to the extent state funding is provided under subdivision 1D for students who do not qualify for free or reduced price meals. What this is letting our districts know is that they can rest at ease that should the state fail to provide them funding in the future, that we're not going to ask them to reach deep into their pockets and somehow find the money to continue to fund this program on their own. This is an accountability mechanism. This puts the onus on us as a legislature to say, if we're going to require this of districts, you have our word that we're going to fund it. And if we don't, we're not going to hold you to somehow finding the thousands or millions of dollars you're somehow going to have to need to carry out the good idea we've told you that you have to. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Klein.
Mr. President, I request a roll call.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we've added the hold harmless for schools. Somewhere in the 90s, Mr. President, we decided compensatory revenue would be tied to lunches. And that created a constant and predictable sum of money, give or take, for most school districts. This would change that. And by giving kids a breakfast and a lunch every day, the concern would be that the forms would not come in. And if the forms don't come in, then there would be compensatory revenue loss. We have fixed that. If you look at the bill, it has been fixed, and they are okay for the next couple of years, as you'll notice in the bill. But to Senator Duckworth's point, I would say that funding through compensatory revenue our schools has shown to have quite a few holes and is not a very reliable or efficient way of collecting funding, which is why, unlike the previous Education Finance Committee, we are choosing to go forward with some real and meaningful help for all of our schools this year. We have lots of really good education bills. We seek to invest in a real and meaningful way for all of our Minnesota schools this year. And so we will be funding our education system. I would urge a no vote on this amendment.
Seeing no further discussion, Senator Duckworth will be the last person unless there's someone else. Senator Duckworth, if you give me just 1 second so I'll make sure no one else wants to speak. Seeing none, Senator Duckworth, to your A14 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. And I respect the comments that were just shared by the bill's author. This amendment doesn't really have anything to do with compensatory revenue. And the comments I shared earlier, thanking for her willingness to try to work on and improve the bill, was directed toward compensatory revenue. Senator Gustafson has been willing to try to figure out a way to address the concerns of some districts who are fearful that compensatory revenue might be negatively impacted by this bill, and I appreciate her for attempting to find a solution there. This bill is much more simple than that. This bill simply says if we don't fund the program, districts don't have to abide by it. And here's why that's important, Mr. President. Every dollar that the legislature ties a string to and says has to be used on this is another dollar that districts don't have the flexibility to use toward literacy or toward mental health or toward hiring teachers or toward providing new curriculums and books for classrooms. That's what if the legislature fails to fund this program into the future, districts are going to have to take away from some of those things to meet the mandate that we've placed on them at the state level. That's why this amendment's important. I think this is a pretty common sense amendment, and I think most districts, families across the state would be appreciative of it. Hey, if we're not going to fund this program that we're going to require you to abide by, well, then we're not going to force you to do it. That's all this amendment seeks to do. And what we don't want to have happen, and I'll say this, I'm not arguing that there aren't going to be future bills this session that get toward funding our schools. I'd like to see them happen sooner rather than later. I'd love to get those targets. We've got districts in need. I'd love to see them pass sooner rather than later. This is top of mind for Lakeville area schools, for Farmington area schools, for Rosemont, Eagan, Apple Valley area schools right now. Something like this in the future could be the decision, could be the deciding factor on whether or not some teachers are retained or not. And those conversations are happening right now in districts across the state. So all we're saying is, good intent, good idea behind the bill. Let's help kids. If we fail to provide these resources in the future, we're not going to ask you to take away from other critical resources important to your schools and kids in order to abide by it. Please, I encourage you, I don't even encourage you, I'm just asking you to vote green. Thank you.
The Secretary will take the roll. Senator Bowden, for those voting under Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. I report that Senator Dietzick votes no.
Senator Dietzick votes no.
I report that Senator Latz votes no.
Senator Latz votes no.
And I report that Senator May Quaid votes no.
Senator May Quaid votes no. All senators having voted that desire to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There being 31 ayes and 34 noes, the A14 amendment is not adopted. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Gustafson yield for a question?
Senator Gustafson, will you yield? She will yield. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Senator Gustafson. The concern was brought up around compensatory revenue. Can you tell me how your bill will affect a school district's ability to collect compensatory revenue?
Senator Gustafson, to the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the Compensatory Revenue Hold Harmless Amendment that has been added to the bill is proposed to ensure districts receive at least an amount of compensatory aid that they received in 2024, which is already $290 million more statewide than it was in 2023. If the February forecast anticipated higher student enrollment of eligible pupils in District 25, those districts would receive the higher compensatory, meaning it is a hold harmless bill and no school districts will lose money. In fact, some will actually gain.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Gustafson yield for another question?
Will you continue to yield? She will yield. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Gustafson, you mentioned the amendment to hold harmless. Can you explain how much the amendment is, and is the amendment going to fund that disparity in perpetuity?
Senator Gustafson, to the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. There is a fiscal note. I would be happy to talk to fiscal and get back to you.
Senator Pratt.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I have the fiscal note in front of me. It says that we're going to go ahead and put $5.4 million into compensatory revenue, with another $600,000 in fiscal year 2025. The answer to the question is it's a one-year fix. Senator Gustafson, we have a one-year fix for compensatory revenue. Will your bill cease or expire at the end of fiscal year 2024?
Senator Pratt, are you asking her to yield?
I'm sorry, Mr. President, I forgot. Would Senator Gustafson yield for a question?
Senator Gustafson, will you yield? She will yield. Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could you please ask your question again?
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President, and Senator Gustafson, I'd be happy to. Senator Gustafson, the amendment, the hold harmless amendment that you mentioned, basically puts $5.4 million, $6 million into a one-time fix for fiscal year 2025. And my question is, will your bill expire at the same point in time that your fix for compensatory revenue will expire?
Senator Gustafson, to the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this will be an ongoing policy change. There are other ways to determine compensatory revenue. While this is a one-time $6 million fix, we will have continued conversations about how compensatory revenue will be generated going forward. So schools will not see a deduction in the funding.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, if I can just reiterate what I thought I heard, we have an impact to all of the revenues, the excess revenues that come into a school district outside of the formula, the basic student ed formula, that are based on the counts of free and reduced lunch. And those are meant to help kids with fewer resources at home be able to keep up in the classroom. And what Senator Gustafson just explained to me, Mr. President, as I understand it, is we have a one-year fix for a bill that's going to go on into perpetuity, and we're essentially creating another unfunded mandate on our schools. An unfunded mandate that they're already complaining about when we talk about special education cross-subsidy, among other mandates that they're required to do. Would Senator Gustafson yield for another question?
Senator Gustafson, will you yield? She will yield. Senator Pratt, your question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Gustafson, are there any barriers to a school district using their current funding to provide free breakfast or lunch to students?
Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are not. Schools are still welcome to use forms, even though I would say, as somebody who worked in schools for a long time, they are not efficient, but schools can still use forms if they choose.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Gustafson yield for just one more question?
Senator Gustafson, will you yield for another question? She will. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Senator Gustafson. So we heard that kids are hungry, and I recall that during my time on the school board and also just from my kids that they sometimes were hungry because they didn't get enough to eat. Would a student be able to get a second lunch or breakfast?
Senator Gustafson, to the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. No, this bill is one breakfast, one lunch.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Draheim yield for a question?
Senator Draheim, will you yield? He will yield. Senator Pratt.
Senator Draheim, I recall in finance you were telling about your own situation where you have an active son who requires additional food that's not being provided, and you worked it out with the school district. Could you briefly inform the body of what you did?
Senator Draheim.
Mr. President, Senator Pratt, thank you for the question. Yes, in finance, I mentioned that my 14-year-old son, who's very active in sports, was refused a second lunch and complained about the portion sizes. And I talked to some of the other, at the time it was football season, some of the other parents while we were watching a game, and they had been told the same thing from their kids, that they were refused a second lunch. And if you haven't been in a school lately, the portion sizes are a lot smaller. And I remember one of the pictures my son sent of the lunch that he was given was a small banana, a small piece of cheese bread with marinara sauce, and a carton of milk. And for an active 14-year-old, 175 pounds, football player, playing hockey at the same time he's playing football, he needs more calories than what the school is given. So I had to go to the school and talk to the administration to allow my 14-year-old son to purchase a second meal. So I hope this bill will not limit those kids that do need a little more food than what we're currently giving our kids the ability to purchase a second meal. Thank you for the question, Senator Pratt.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I think what we've heard is that this bill is not just an unfunded mandate on our local schools, but it's also ties the hands of our school districts to be able to address issues like Senator Draheim just talked about. Under today's law, there are no barriers to a school district funding meals for all their kids, as Senator Gustafson stated, but it would prevent them from working out agreements like Senator Draheim just talked about. Mr. President, would Senator Marty yield for a question?
Senator Marty is not in the chambers.
Mr. President, would Senator Frentz, Vice Chair of Finance, yield for a question?
Senator Frentz will yield for a question. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Frentz, I was going to ask Senator Marty, can you explain how much will be spent this fiscal year, in fiscal year 2023 that we're in, to help schools provide lunches? How much is provided in this bill?
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Pratt. To get that specific number, I would have to talk to my good friends in fiscal, but I would be happy to do that and get that information to the body as soon as possible.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, Senator Frentz, I'll help you out. The answer is zero. Would Senator Frentz yield for another question?
Senator Frentz, He will yield. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Senator Frentz. Senator Frentz, we've been talking about budget targets and when we expect to see those now that the February forecast is in. Senator Frentz, can you tell me what the budget target is for education in fiscal year 2024-25 and for fiscal years 26 and 27?
Members, I'd just like to remind you that the issue before the body is House File 5, but I will allow it, but I just want to remind us. Senator Frentz.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Pratt, for the question. No, I can't, but I think I'll be able to tell you around March 24th or 25th. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, so we're saying in 10 or 11 days we'll know how much we're going to spend on education. But this fiscal note states that we're going to spend $400 million per biennium. None of it for this budget cycle, all in the future. There is no urgency for this bill. But, Mr. President, the bill's in front of us, and I've met with teachers, superintendents, school board members, and they're stressed out. Our schools are under stress. Their issues that they've told me are class size. Their issues are formula increases to make sure they have the resources to buy technology, books, hire staff, be able to pay them a wage so that they can attract them to do the job. They tell me they need additional resources for mental health and counselors. And of course, we've all heard about the special education cross-subsidy. And yet this bill will have the effect of a 3% increase on the basic education formula. We are saying, members, with this bill, that we are going to override our locally elected school boards. And Mr. President, I would just, if you give me just a second, our local school boards are charged with the business of the district, which includes the finances, which includes the local policy, which includes the running and maintenance of our local buildings. And what we're doing, Mr. President, with this bill is we're telling local school districts, we the state know better. We the state are not going to give you a 3% increase for the needs that you've articulated are most important to you. We're going to give you 3% to do what we want you to do, what we're going to mandate you to do. And oh, by the way, we're going to take away your authority to provide school lunches if you choose to, or not choose to. We're going to take away your ability to work with parents like Senator Draheim. Not one of those teachers, school board members, or superintendents said their number one issue was school breakfast and lunch. Now, I don't want any kid to go hungry. And as a former school board member, and I think Senator Gruenhagen, Senator Duckworth, if I recall, Senator Hoffman was a school board member on the Anoka-Hennepin School Board, which is the largest school board in the state. Not one of them mentioned school lunches was their number one issue. So, Mr. President, I would offer the A15 amendment.
Senator Pratt offers the A15 amendment. At the appropriate time, the Secretary will read the amendment.
Senator Pratt moves to amend House File Number 5, the first unofficial engrossment, as follows. Delete everything after the enacting clause and insert. This is the A15 amendment.
Mr. President, I'd request a roll call.
Roll call. Requested roll call granted. Senator Pratt to your A15 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this would just simply say we'll go ahead and put the money that's in this bill onto the basic education formula. And let's meet the needs of kids. Let's meet the needs of kids, their most important needs. The needs that their locally elected school boards, their hired superintendents, their teachers, their counselors say they need. Because we say in state statute, that's their job. Their job is to manage the schools. It's not the state Senate's job to tell districts how to manage their lunch programs. We are here to provide the resources and provide the resources that they need to obtain a universal education. And so, Mr. President, this preserves the very discretion that Senator Gustafson said that school boards already have, but it also allows them the ability to work out deals like they have with Senator Draheim and other families, or to meet needs that they find even more pressing. So, Mr. President, I request a yes vote on the A15 amendment.
On the A15 amendment, Senator Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. President. And wondering if the wonderful good senator from Prior Lake would yield for questions. And
Senator Pratt, will you yield? He will yield. Senator Hoffman.
so, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to clarify, it is not the largest school board in the state of Minnesota, Mr. President. It's the largest school district in the state of Minnesota with most per pupil unit. And you know, Mr. President, if Anoka Hennepin were to be just a typical metro school district, because you look at the surrounding 7-county area, it would get an additional $28 million a year in funding just to be on that piece of it. So this gets to the question I'm going to ask the good senator from Prior Lake. One of the arguments that we have had as former school board members, was always about categorical spending versus non-categorical spending. So how can the good senator from Prior Lake assure that this money is going to be allocated to where it needs to go regarding the school nutrition of students? And I have a follow-up then to that question, Mr. Chair.
Senator Pratt, to the question.
Thank you, Mr. President and Senator Hoffman. I appreciate the question. The point of the entire point of the amendment is to make sure that we're meeting the needs of kids. The amendment is not going to assure or require or mandate that these funds be spent on school nutrition. They are specifically meant to provide the greatest need within a school district. And if that need happens to be school nutrition, then they can be put towards school nutrition. But if there are other needs, mental health, school counselors, class size, among all the others, they can be put there as well, because right now they have the ability to put funds into that program if they so choose, and we would just be preserving that option for school districts. We're not taking anything away from school districts in this amendment. We're actually preserving the choices that they have today.
Senator Hoffman, but I see Senator Klein has risen. For what purpose do you rise?
Point of order, Mr. President.
What's your point of order? State your point of order.
Under 35 to germaneness. Mr. President, I ask you to rule that this amendment is not germane to the underlying bill, the title of which is up on our screens, School Lunch and Breakfast Provision for All Students, the intent and purpose of the bill. The amendment intends to change the school formula, which is a much different and broader discussion, and I ask you to rule it out of order.
Any advice?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, what we're talking about is something that should be discussed in terms of the target, but the majority has decided to move this discussion ahead. There will be no funds expended in fiscal year 2023, so we are simply talking about a bill to increase education spending. Now, the question is whether or not we're going to mandate.
Senator Pratt, is this advice to the President?
This is advice to the President.
For the germaneness that has been decided under 35.2?
Thank you, Mr. President. And I would like to explain why I believe the amendment is germane. So,
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, what we're talking about is an education spending bill, and whether or not the Minnesota Senate should be into the business of micromanaging school boards, micromanaging superintendents, micromanaging school districts. And because we don't have targets and because we don't know how much we're going to be spending, it's important for us to make sure that we provide school districts maximum flexibility. There's nothing in this bill, in this amendment, that undoes completely what Senator Gustafson wants to do, because by her own admission, School districts have the ability to pay for school lunches for every student. And by providing money on the formula, we may be encouraging, we may be providing the resources for them to do that just in a slightly different way. So I would encourage you to find the amendment germane.
The looking at 35.2, the point of order raised by Senator Klein is well taken.
Mr. President, I'd like to appeal the decision of the President.
The decision of the President has been appealed.
Roll call.
Roll call has been requested. Roll call granted. Members, just so that you know, that a green vote upholds the decision of the President, a red vote goes against the ruling of the President. Seeing no discussion can happen here, the Secretary will take the roll on the appeal. Members, please vote. Senator Bowden, those voting under Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. I report that Senator Dietzig votes aye.
Senator Dietzig votes aye.
I report that Senator Latz votes aye.
Senator Latz votes aye.
And I report that Senator May Quaid votes aye.
Senator May Quaid votes aye. Members, please vote. Anyone else wants to vote? All senators having voted who desires to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There have been 34 ayes and 30 noes. The decision of the President is upheld. Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. President. And as listening to the discussion here, one of the biggest issues that has come up time after time about the bill in front of us here is dealing with the compensatory issue and the funding that goes to schools through the compensatory aid. And I've heard it said here repeatedly that we've addressed that issue. As I see it, we've addressed it for 1 year, and I'm really questioning if we've actually fully met the needs. So I'm wondering if Senator Gustafson would yield to a question.
Senator Gustafson will yield for a question. Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. President. So as I see the amendment that was put into the bill in finance to address the issue, we put $5.4 million in. I'm wondering if Senator Gustafson can tell us how much per year is actually given to schools through the compensatory aid formula.
Senator Gustafson, to the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's been a $290 million increase in compensatory revenue.
Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. President. So that's the increase. So in total, what schools get every year on the compensatory formula based on free and reduced lunches is $460.9 million. What we've heard along the way as superintendents and school boards have had concern with this bill is that during the time when free meals were being offered during our shutdowns, that upwards of 30% of families failed to fill out the paperwork for free and reduced lunch. As I do my math on the 5.4 million compared to the 460, that is a 1.1% aid that we're going to offer. 1.1%, Mr. President, is not upwards of 30%. So to sit here on the Senate floor and say we are holding our school districts harmless for the shortfall that they could have in compensatory, I struggle with. That number would need to be 30 times bigger than what we have in the bill if we're truly going to hold school districts harmless. And I have the A16 amendment. I know what's going to happen with the amendment, Mr. President, so I will just talk about it rather than having staff hand it all out. But it's very similar to what Senator Pratt offered, because I believe, we have so many more needs. And one of the needs, again, through the shutdowns that we've heard, our students are behind in math and reading. Getting our kids caught up are incredibly important. And the A16 amendment, if I had offered it, would have taken these funds, instead of putting them into free and reduced lunch and free meals for everyone, it would have taken that money and put it into the Supplemental Literacy Incentive Aid Program to help our kids get caught up on reading. This is one of the true absolute needs within our schools right now, Mr. President. And like some of the numbers I gave you earlier, 40% of our students are not in need of the money being spent on free meals. So we could be expanding the number to catch those 18.5% that we've been talking about and still have money left over to help in programs like this literacy aid that I believe we should be doing, Mr. President. So I appreciate the time and will not offer the A16, but thank you, Mr. President.
Members, I want to just make sure that the next folks are individuals who want to offer an amendment, because I want to make sure that we can go to third reading as soon as possible, but I'm not chilling your ability to speak. I don't want you to think it's that. But I also want you to know that once we approach closer to 12:30, we will adjourn, and then we will have to return this evening. I'm sorry, we will recess, not adjourn. I'm sorry. Thank you there, Mr. Bodden. I appreciate that. Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we have before us a bill to bring forward yet another food welfare program here in the state of Minnesota. We continue to see the majority party, the now decidedly socialist party in the state of Minnesota, bringing forward more socialist policies that make our people more dependent on a bigger and bigger and bigger government. And Mr. President, that is what I see and read and hear in this bill. We're hearing that there is no need for the bill to begin with, that parents are already feeding their kids and taking care of them. We're hearing that this bill is actually constructed, Mr. President, in a way that tells parents they can't even opt out of the welfare that is being forced upon their kids, and they are supposed to abide by the dictates then of government on how their kids are fed at school, and that's what we have in the bill. In addition to those reservations I have about this bill and this approach, Mr. President, we have seen, and there are a plethora of food welfare programs being brought forward in government here. We heard a couple of them in bills earlier in this session that passed this Senate floor. We've also seen the Feeding Our Future program, one that is riddled with fraud, $250 million so far, and actually another 40 or 60 million announced yesterday in fraud. It may be as high as $500 million that's been defrauded the taxpayers of the state of Minnesota in the left's pursuit to bring welfare and government dependence on the people of Minnesota. None of that money, Mr. President, made it to the kids that it was actually intended to feed in the first place. So we need to make sure, if we're going to develop more food welfare programs and force them, in this case, on the kids and the families of the state of Minnesota, we got to make sure that they're not at least riddled with the type of fraud that basically is stealing from the people of Minnesota close to $500 million, $500 million, I'll note, Mr. President. And so I have an amendment that will help address that. It's the A13 amendment, Mr. President, and I'm wondering if we could bring that one forward.
Senator Jaskowski offers the A13 amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment. Senator Jaskowski, to your amendment. Oh, he has the report. I'm sorry.
Senator Drazkowski moved to amend House File Number 5, the first unofficial engrossment as follows. Page 2, line 7 after the period insert. This is the A13 amendment.
Now, Senator Jaskowski, to your A13 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members, the A13 amendment provides that people that have been convicted, charged, or indicted in Feeding Our Future shouldn't be anywhere near our schools. These programs, these additional welfare programs that's in this bill, or the kids in our schools, and I encourage your support for the amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Gustafson, to the A13 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also, I'd like to request a roll call. To respond to the amendment.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Senator Gustafson.
Thank you. This has absolutely nothing to do with Feeding Our Future or fraud or anything. This is an existing school program that is already working in our Minnesota schools, in both public and private schools. This is an expansion of that program. It has nothing to do with fraud. In fact, this is something that has been in place for generations. So I would urge a no on this amendment. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I want to make sure, Senator Jaskowski, that you can be the last person, okay? Any further discussion? Seeing none, Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, members, I just want to make sure that the types of bad behaviors that have been part of the Feeding Our Future fraud and the bad things that can happen in schools with these programs don't happen with this welfare program. Encourage your support. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Secretary will take the roll. Senator Bowden, for those voting under Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. I report that Senator Disick votes no.
Senator Disick votes no.
I report that Senator Latz votes no.
Senator Latz votes no.
And I report that Senator McQuaid votes no.
Senator McQuaid votes no. Senators, please vote. Members, we may wait a little bit because I know that there's some meetings going on and I want to make sure that I give everyone an opportunity to come down. Senator? Senator? All senators having voted who desires to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 29 yeas and 35 noes, the amendment, the 813 amendment, is not adopted. Any additional amendments before we go to third reading? Seeing none, third reading.
House File Number 5, a bill for an act relating to education, providing free school lunch and breakfast for students.
Third reading. Any final questions, discussions? I will make a list, and I want to remind everyone the last two will be the author of the bill. So, Senator Abler.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really didn't want to be one of the last two anyway, so I'll be the first one after third reading. And I just wanted to speak in support of this project. And I wish some of the amendments could have gone on that could have been useful to protect districts. But nonetheless, there are some very real needs out there that this will help to address. And some might say that it helps a few who may not need the help. But actually, I'm okay with that. there are a lot of pressures on a lot of families that this will take a load off of, and so they can invest their money elsewhere and do a very good thing. And so I'm happy to vote yes, and I hope members do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I rise in opposition to House File 5. I support the intention that all of our students are in school and are not hungry. And it is true, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is very clear. It's difficult for children to learn when they are hungry. But this is the wrong solution, members. This bill assumes a couple things that I think are dangerous. Number one, as we've mentioned about compensatory funding, that is a significant amount of funding for our school districts, particularly school districts that have high levels of low income or poverty. And to put that at risk for a short-term potential, a bill that would say we're going to fund all school lunches and breakfasts for all children in school, but we don't really know how we're going to continue to bring those compensatory dollars to our schools. Because compensatory dollars are based upon free and reduced lunch. So I think it's extremely short-sighted to not have that important piece figured out before we bring that to this floor. And so I did read about a hold harmless, but members, that is not a hold harmless. $5 million for hold harmless is a drop in the bucket. Our schools see over $400 million in compensatory funding. And to take away the very way that they qualify for that, I do not think is good math. I don't think it's good for our schools. It's not good for our kids. And then, yes, parents need relief. Moms and dads and families are being squeezed. And you're right, their food budgets are being squeezed. But I would submit to you that moms and dads know better what their kids like and what their children will eat than whatever the uniform school lunch may or may not be. And I agree that we need to get more money into the hands of moms and dads and Minnesotans all across this state. And believe me, members, there are many bills to do that. Reducing the income tax rate, letting Minnesotans keep more of their money. But to assume that the government somehow, much less the school lunch, determines how best children want to eat or be fed, and suddenly it's a price. And the real price, when you talk to economists, the real cost of an item is not the dollars. The real cost of an item is what you cannot purchase because you bought the item at which you're speaking of. And believe me, members, there are many things that we can purchase, so to speak, with $400 million a year. We can reduce income taxes. We can begin further eliminating Social Security taxes. We can fund and help fund to make sure that we have child care available for our kids, for our parents, so that they have a safe place for their kids. This bill is certainly well-intended, but it misses the mark in so many ways, members. I encourage a no vote.
Senator Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've spent most of my adult life volunteering with abused, neglected kids. I volunteer at my local food shelf. This need is overwhelming. While we sit here and debate today whether or not we should feed kids, there are tens of thousands of kids in school right now in Minnesota with rumbling stomachs who are trying to learn while they are hungry. I am a foster parent. Because I am a foster parent, I have children that are eligible for free lunches. I will be honest, you have to go into a portal, you have to fill out all the paperwork. Sometimes the portal doesn't work. I have thought about not doing the paperwork because it is onerous. There are a whole bunch of reasons people do not do this paperwork. There are children who aren't even with their parents because there are children in crisis or children in need. We should not make children go hungry because of paperwork. If we need the paperwork to do a type of funding, then we need to figure out another way that does not include children who are starving right now. We need to take care of our children. We need to get this passed. We need to set our children up for success, and that means them having full bellies and being in an environment where they can learn. So if there are other things that we need to work about that are outside of this, fine, let's go get those done. But today, we need to feed children. So I will be voting yes for this, for all the children in need, many of whom I've helped serve, and I hope everyone else does the same.
Senator Dames.
Well, thank you, Mr. President and members, and I do stand against this bill. I think it's interesting. The last speaker spoke about how we need our students to all have full bellies, and I wouldn't disagree with that, but this bill absolutely does not do that. We have folks, if you have a student that weighs 80 pounds and he gets a sandwich, you have another student that weighs 180 pounds and he gets the same size sandwich, are you telling me that that stomach is not rumbling? I think it probably is. So where's the level where we're going to stop picking and choosing who we're going to take care of? So it sounds to me like, and we hear all the time about a full stomach, they learn more. So if you have a student that weighs 80 pounds and a full stomach, what % more is he going to learn than the student that weighs 180 pounds and is still very hungry? We're just not meeting the needs here, and this has been brought up a couple of times. It was brought up in Finance Committee. It's been brought up today about we do have that certain group of children that need more calories than other groups do, and yet we're just going to ignore them. We've got a bill here that's going to cost us $419 million per biennium. My school districts are really nervous about that, and the reason they're nervous about this is because if you take a look at the number of mandates that are being proposed and the dollars that are being proposed to go back out, they're going to be upside down by about $1,000 to $1,500 per student. And that's making folks really nervous. We're hearing rumblings about a $12 billion education budget. And if we're going to have a $12 billion education budget, of course, we don't know that. We haven't seen targets and don't know where we will. And in many cases, we have not seen fiscal notes because we don't seem to use those very often today. And I guess there's reasons for that. But with that said, if we're going to have that type of dollars being put into education, we certainly ought to be able to make sure that we're not upside down when it comes to the cost of the mandates versus the number of dollars that the schools are going to get per student. So I'm going to be against this bill because I think this, first of all, I don't think this bill should have been tabled because we should be waiting until we got our targets to find out just actually absolutely where this money is going to come from and where it's going to be spent. And we're not willing to do that. So I would encourage you to vote against this, and let's take this back and get it redone so it fits the needs of the schools and the people.
Senator Umu Verbaden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm supporting this bill because I think it's the right thing to do to make sure that our kids are not hungry. But I just wanted to share a few words about why it's personally important to me and my district and my community. You know, in my school districts, I have two in my district, Roseville area schools and St. Paul public schools, and the majority of our students are they qualify for free reduced lunch. It's 61% in St. Paul Public Schools, it's 51% in Roseville. And we know we have a lot of lunch debt as well. The lunch debt is up to $120,000 in Roseville area schools. That's just one measure of the need, and I think we've heard a lot about this from Senator Gustafson specifically about how there are folks who are not, filling out those forms, and we don't even know all the students that are hungry. Let's just get this done and make sure it's universal and everyone can get the meals they need at school. A few weeks ago, I was at Central Park Elementary. It's where I went to school, and there was a check that was presented to our elementary school to pay off some of that student lunch debt. It was presented by the Philando Castile Relief Foundation. The Philando Castile Relief Foundation came about after 6 years ago when Philando Castile was shot and killed by the police in my district. And he was a beloved member of our community because he was known as the lunch man, or Mr. Phil, at J.J. Hill. He knew every student's name, and he never let any of his kids go hungry. He would always step up and make sure that they had a meal. I think today we have an opportunity to step up as a state, right? So that it's not on those individual nutrition staff, it's not on our teachers, it's not on our individual school districts. It's really on us to make sure that our students are fed and that they have those meals in school. I'm really grateful that the foundation was there to step up and pay off that debt, but I know that they're also supportive and they want to see the state get these universal meals out to all of our students across Minnesota. So I'm supporting this. My entire community lost a really beautiful soul in District 66 who cared about this issue. So I'm voting today for Mr. Phil, and I would encourage you all to do the same.
Senator Swazinski.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank Senator Gustafson for bringing this bill forward, and I'm going to be voting for the bill, and I hope others do as well. And I'm going to tell you why I'm voting for this bill, and here's why. During my teaching career, I'd be going to lunch, and I'd see some kid sitting outside their locker on the floor, and I'd give them a jab, and I'd say, "Hey, how come you're not in the lunchroom?" And they'd say something witty and intelligent, but I knew why they weren't in the lunchroom. And I'd see a kid occasionally in the media center during lunch, and I'd say, "Hey, how come you're not in the lunchroom?" and give them a jab, and they'd say why something witty and intelligent, but I knew the real reason they weren't in the lunchroom. And now and then a kid, I'd release them to go eat lunch, split lunch in my class, and kid would just come up and say, "Do you mind if I just sit at my desk during lunch?" And I'd look at him or her, and I'd say, "Well, of course not, but why aren't you going to be in the lunchroom?" And they'd say something to appease me, but I knew the real reason why they weren't going to lunch. And Senator Gustafson's bill, I'll be voting for all those students that weren't in the lunchroom during those days of their school. And you came to the floor today with all these letters and endorsements from stakeholders asking for you to support, but the one that I want to bring attention to was in this morning's Star Tribune. And it was a letter from a young 16-year-old, and she writes, if I could vote, Senator Gustafson would receive my vote. But kids don't get a vote. We rely on adults, on us, to create policies that directly affect our lives and our futures. I hope other senators consider this when the bill lands on the Senate floor. That was from one of Senator Gustafson's constituents who had her letter published in this morning's paper. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the robust discussion on this bill, but this bill, though well-intentioned, is just the latest example of socialism. It's government providing the answer in painting everyone as all the same, when we have come here and pointed out how different kids have different needs, depending on maybe how much they're in athletics or their growth or their size. And this is another example of government treating all kids the same, and it's not going to accomplish the objective that it's seeking to do, because parents and families can do this better. And we had a whole stack of letters of support on our desks when we got here, and it was amazing flipping through. There was big businesses and insurance companies and the Education Minnesota and a whole bunch of large organizations. But Mr. President, I talked to teachers and superintendents and school board members in my districts, and those views were not represented in any of these letters. Just a week or two ago, there was a group of maybe 15 or 20 of these school superintendents. Some were school board members. They had a variety of roles from a number of districts, school districts within my district or very near to it on the borders surrounding my district. And we were discussing a number of the education-related issues that are coming up this year, and I threw out and I asked them, give me your opinion on the free school lunch bill. And without exception, every single one of them gave a resounding no. This bill is a bad idea. And they explained to me why. The school districts in my area have already solved all of the problems that this bill is seeking to do. They said we already have a robust program set up for all the kids currently under law that qualify for free and reduced lunch. They said we have already put the process together to meet all the kids that need it. They said we've already dealt with the school shaming issue because we give the exact same meal to every student regardless of whether they're able to pay for it or not. And the school board already has a process in place for figuring out what they do for any outstanding debt at the end of the year. They have already taken care of all of the problems that are in this bill. So I'd encourage other members, if you are not seeing that in your school district, maybe you need to come out to rural Minnesota where the air is fresher and common sense is a lot more common. And maybe we can talk and learn about how they have these programs set up and how they're already meeting the needs of students that this bill, with its $400 million price tag, is already seeking to do. They told me many of the same things that many of my colleagues have already mentioned. They said we could use the money so much better in so many other places. School counselors is always one of the first things I hear out of their mouth. Transportation, the curriculum, all the other areas, mental health, special education, all these areas they laid out and said we could put this money to so much better use if we had the flexibility to do so. But this bill is not allowing them to do that. It's going to be a $400 million mandate on schools, whether they need it or not. And finally, Mr. President, they gave me an amazing stat that I have been thinking about every day since we had this conversation. They said they have been following, and they are these same school board officials, school officials, superintendents, school board members and such, they have been following all of the legislation and all of the unfunded mandates in education that the majority is proposing and is likely pushing through. And they told me there's rumors of a 5% increase on the education formula. That's what they mentioned. And they said, we really appreciate the 5% increase if we are able to get that. But they said, Mr. President, they told me, Senator, if they held up a list where they had all of the education bills with unfunded mandates that are listed on there, and this bill is one of those items on that list. They said if the majority pushes through all the bills that are on the list of the unfunded mandates, they said we're going to need a 35% increase in education funding. They said we're going to be worse off than we were before under prior majorities here in the legislature because a 5% increase in funding is not going to offset the onslaught of unfunded mandates that are coming down. And this bill, while it had the unfunded mandate for the particular program covered for 1 year, tapers off at that point and converts into an unfunded mandate beyond that. So there are a lot of issues with this bill. The resounding message I got from my district is this is a solution looking for a problem that does not exist because the schools in my community have already solved all of the needs that this bill is purporting to do. And it's using money that we could be using in so many other places elsewhere. So for those reasons, members, I urge members to reject this bill, send this back, and let's get the funding for our schools done right.
Members, I just want to remind you that the list keeps growing, and if it keeps growing, I'm going to, I'm certain that someone will move for a recess, and then we'll have to come back this evening, because we cannot keep getting into the committee work. That's what I've been told. So, Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll make it brief. Again, I talked to a lot with my school administrators, school board members, and I've heard about the formula, putting money on the formula. I've heard about issues with special ed cross subsidies. I've heard about mental health. I've heard about transportation issues, bus drivers, equalization, debt service, operating referendums. I've heard about needing more school counselors. I've heard about facilities maintenance, compensatory damage done by not filling out the forms. I've not once, from my district, heard about we need free lunch for all. Again, I've talked a lot with them. This is not what we should be doing. This is not the priority. Let's get it on the formula. Let's talk about special ed cross subsidies. But this bill, I urge you to vote no. Thank you, members.
Senator Kuhn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this is a well-meaning bill. I thank the chief author for bringing this bill. We've heard about some families who qualify for free and reduced lunch, but have not applied for it. And I was on a school board up until this past January, and I can tell you that school districts, because free and reduced lunch is tied to their compensatory funding, they go out of their way to make sure every family who qualifies for free and reduced lunch applies for free and reduced lunch and gets free and reduced lunch. Many of those families that choose not to apply, that may qualify, are making a conscious decision to not apply because they prefer to provide their lunches for their own children. And for those that need assistance who aren't getting it, we should redouble our efforts to reach those families and make sure that every child that needs it is able to obtain free and reduced lunch. And if we need to make the paperwork simpler, then we ought to do that. But we don't need universal free lunch to achieve it. Because the students who need free and reduced lunch are already getting it, I consider this to be a policy decision that requires us to prioritize the use of public funds within our education system. And I won't repeat all the other priorities, but I too have talked to my school districts. This is not anywhere near the top of their priority list. And I also have very serious reservations about the hold harmless amount being entirely inadequate for when universal lunch is enacted, and that will disincentivize people applying for free and reduced lunch. I don't think this number will cover the loss to compensatory funding. But I do admit that there is a certain appeal to this bill. Our families do need relief. Inflation is cutting into their budgets, and we haven't provided any tax relief this session. And this would be one way to provide relief to our families. I personally pay over $200 a month for my kids' school lunches. But the issue here is that this relief isn't going to go to lower income families or even lower middle income families. It's going to go to middle class, upper class, and upper middle class. And while it's tempting to think of this as a tax relief bill, the reality is that it's not. This is not a tax relief bill. For every family that receives relief under this bill, there's some other family that's paying for it. And who are those families? They're families that don't have kids. They're families whose kids are out of school. They're senior citizens who are on fixed incomes, who are still being taxed on their Social Security benefits. And while I imagine most, if not all of those folks wouldn't mind paying a little bit more to ensure that hungry kids who need a meal get it, this bill requires them to pay for meals to families who can afford it. And that's the problem here. This isn't a tax relief bill. So what this bill comes down to is we're spending over $200 million a year on something that is not a priority for our schools and requires some taxpayers to pay for the necessities of the children of other taxpayers who can afford to pay for their own family. And for those reasons, I support a no vote on this bill. Thank you.
Members, here are the last, the roll call of the last members will be Senator Jaskowski, Rarick, Duckworth, and then we'll hear from the bill author, if we can get it all done in time. Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, members, there's no such thing as a free lunch. But we have a bill before us that says there's a free lunch in the title. That's not true. There is no such thing as a free lunch. The people of Minnesota are paying in this bill over $400 million in taxes to pay for the lunches of kids, the majority of which are already having their lunches paid for by their families now. That's to call it a free lunch is dishonest. And to not bring out the fact that people of families that are already paying for their lunches are being subsidized by people who are having the government pay for their lunches now is also not being honest. That's what this bill, Mr. President, does. This is pure socialism. This is about control. It's about the government dictating to kids what they're going to eat and how much they're going to eat. And that's what's in here. And I didn't, Mr. President, I didn't ask the author of the bill to yield, but listening to Senator Rarick's amendment and the response suggested to me that parents cannot even opt out of this. So, members, what happens if you have a parent that only likes to have their kids have organic food? What happens to them? What happens, members, if you have parents who have a kid that has known allergies? What happens if you have parents that want to look out for their kids with certain types of nutrition or caloric requirements for their kids, as was brought up by other members here today? They can't, because in this bill, they are being forced to. They can't even opt out of this program. They're being forced to be part of this government-dictated program. The party in control here, Mr. President, the Socialist Party of Minnesota, is telling the people of Minnesota how they have to feed their kids. And members, this is so misdirected. We have a problem with reading, writing, and arithmetic here in Minnesota, Mr. President. As a matter of fact, we all know and have seen the proficiency scores in schools have dropped precipitously over the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years now. Reading was at nearly 60% proficiency here in the state of Minnesota on average, 59.9%. The last year on record for reading proficiencies have dropped from 59.9 members to 51.1%. Barely half of our kids can read at grade level in our schools. Math was at 57.2 in 2018. Today it's down below 45%. Mr. President, less than half of the kids in Minnesota schools can operate in the area of math at grade proficiency levels, 44.8% of them in 2022. In science, in 2018, kids were at 52%. Mr. President, the proficiency at demonstrating science, knowledge, and skill in schools today in Minnesota is at a measly 41.3% proficiency. Members, this is going the wrong direction. We should be using this nearly $500 million of the taxpayers' money to make certain that we have reading proficiency happening in our schools again. We have math proficiency happening. We have science proficiency happening, Mr. President, and that the kids are learning. That is what our schools are for. That is what parents pay tax money for. That is what our Constitution provides for. To teach them, not to feed them, because, Mr. President, the next thing the Socialist Party of Minnesota will be bringing to this chamber is one to provide their clothing. They'll be coming to buy their socks and buy their pants and buy their shirts and maybe their hats and maybe their winter clothing and who knows what next, Mr. President. But this is the direction that this party in control is leading us. It's the wrong direction. It's a one-size-fits-all. Government dictates to the people of Minnesota with their money and using it to do things to them that don't need to happen. Mr. President, I have yet to meet a person in Minnesota that is hungry. Yet today. I have yet to meet a person in Minnesota that says they don't have access to enough food to eat. Now, I should say that hunger is a relative term, Mr. President. You know, I had a cereal bar for breakfast. I guess I'm hungry now. That, to some, might be maybe that's the definition of the bill. I don't know. I didn't see a definition of hunger in the bill, Mr. President. But I think most reasonable people suggest hunger means you don't have enough to eat in order to provide for metabolism and growth. I would suggest that probably physicians and others would have some sort of definition like that. We don't see a definition for hunger in here, but we do have food shelves all over Minnesota, Mr. President. We saw in an earlier bill, one of the, again, plethora of bills that are here providing food welfare on top of the ones we already had here in the state of Minnesota, providing that we got hundreds of food shelves in nearly every community in Minnesota, providing food throughout our communities, not to mention the ones in schools and the ones that are being defrauded at $500 million at a time. Mr. President, where are we going here? This is a bill that is a solution in search of a need. The need isn't there. The need is for reading, writing, and arithmetic. Minnesota Democrats are off course and in the ditch with the people's money. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I have to start this off by recommending, Mr. President, that other members do not try to do math on the floor like I did earlier. I mentioned that 31.5% of students are eligible for free and reduced lunch, and that we've been talking about 18.5% of the students that are still in need, and I said that adds up to 60%, and I was wrong. That is 50%, Mr. President. So 50% of our students are not in need of this. Yet this bill comes forward with a shotgun approach to take and address something far and beyond what is actually needed. It's been stated over and over, the other areas of need in our schools that money could actually go towards. I'm not going to re-go through all of that again, Mr. President. But what I want to address is, in the opening remarks, it was said that this seems like an easy yes vote. Mr. President, it does seem like an easy yes vote until you dig into the details of the bill. and you see the possible ramifications that are going to happen. The compensatory is the biggest. One that hasn't been talked about, but another statement that was made was, this is about the universality of lunches. Well, Mr. President, I beg to differ. This will not get to universality of lunches. Virtually every school in the state has an a la carte line. I do not see that this bill is saying a la carte lines cannot be provided and accessible to students. So there are still going to be students whose families will have them go to the a la carte line, and others who will go to the regular line. That happens today, and it's going to continue happening whether we pass this bill or not. As we heard testifiers come over and over, what we heard time and again was about lunch shaming, Mr. President. Mr. President, we passed a bill dealing with lunch shaming, and the Attorney General further took that to make it clear that those lunches offered could not be any different than any other lunches. Those issues are being addressed. Mr. President, this bill is spending money that should be utilized in other areas that our school districts are asking for. Members, Mr. President, I would ask that we vote no on this, bring it back as part of a complete package that has been worked on to better fit the needs of what the true needs are out there in our districts for all of our schools. Thank you.
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. How fortunate we are to be having this debate, that the state of Minnesota is sitting on a $17.5 billion surplus. Now, some others might say that's not fortunate, but in this case, when we're talking about taking care of our kids, I think it is safe to say that. But what we have to remember, be mindful of, is we won't always have that sort of surplus. And that the state of Minnesota having $17.5 billion of taxpayer dollars in its coffers comes at a cost. It comes at a cost for Minnesota families. It comes at a cost for Minnesota seniors. And we always have to be mindful of and planning for scenarios in the future in which our state might not be sitting on such a large amount of taxpayer dollars. I'm not going to argue against feeding little kids. But I'm also not going to cast aside the valid concerns of our districts and administrators, parents, and kids. We don't have a disagreement when it comes to feeding kids. We have a difference of opinion regarding the priority of funding when it comes to our schools. Before this bill passes, or even simultaneously, we should be discussing the investments we're going to make in literacy, how much we're going to give districts in regard to increasing the education funding formula, and what amount is going to be put toward the special education cross-subsidy. And we should do it soon. They're asking for it, and they're asking for it now because they're in the midst of planning their budgets. And I'll give you one quick example, Mr. President. I had one school board member reach out to me from one of the districts I represent, and he said, similar to what Senator Matthews shared earlier, he said, we have actually run the numbers on all the different bills that are being proposed in the legislature that are going to impact our district's budget. And they're going to call for an additional $8 million in annual expenditures. And then we also looked at what's being proposed in terms of the education funding formula increase and the special education cross-subsidy. That's only going to bring us $3.5 million in additional annual revenue. So when we are talking about fully funding our schools, that math doesn't work. We can't expect districts, in this case, to spend $8 million more based on the mandated laws we passed, but only give them an extra $3.5 million annually. That's not going to be the state legislature's burden to bear. That's going to be the local community's burden to bear. And that's why, no matter how noble this bill is, it has to be done in conjunction and in totality with all the other spending or investments that we're considering at the state legislature, not just as it relates to funding, or excuse me, not just as it relates to education funding, but all the different areas of government that we're seeking to fund. That's the issue with the bill, is putting it in perspective and making sure that we're understanding all areas in which we're going to be investing. But when it comes to this bill, and as it pertains to our caucus, we're not in the driver's seat. We don't have the opportunity to craft the perfect bill exactly the way we would, with exactly the language that we think is the best. And so I'm forced to ask myself, when it comes to the bill as it stands, does it do more good than bad? And to that I'd say, let's feed our kids. Let's make sure they can read and succeed academically. And let's give our districts the resources and flexibility they need to meet the needs of our kids, whether it be when it comes to their empty stomachs, when it comes to their struggles to learn to read, as they try very hard to learn math, as they struggle with some of the mental health aspects that we know some kids are facing across the district. What can we do at the legislature to meet all of those needs? Thank you.
To the bill author, Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a bill that provides a breakfast and a lunch to every student in Minnesota, K through 12, public or private school. Every student gets a meal. That's what's fair. It's not an unfunded mandate, as we heard so many times. In fact, we covered that several times. It's not unfunded. And it's also not a mandate. Students can still collect forms, or schools can still collect forms if they would like. They can still decide how kids are going to go through a lunch line. They can decide if somebody wants to have a second meal. Now, that one is going to be up to the family, but nobody is saying they can't do that. There is still plenty of local control. The proposed increase, by the way, is less than 1% of the state's education budget. This is needed now, not later. Schools need to plan for what's coming up next year, and families need to know that we have their backs. We're going to give money back to families. The current school funding is in a crisis, and I heard several members talk about how just a formula increase would be better. I'd like to remind everybody that we heard about these formula increases and that the current Minnesota GOP voted for 0% of a formula increase for the school year that we're in right now. So schools suffering, we are currently living in a Republican education budget. So I'm a mom. I have 4 kids. There are a lot of years that we couldn't afford much. I would have appreciated a policy like that. As a teacher, I've had countless students come into my classroom. They're looking for food, and not just for themselves, but for their siblings as well. As a teacher, I worry about my students. I also worry about a lot of people in the chamber who don't seem to understand what socialism is. We're doing big things for education this year. In fact, I'm the chief author of the 5 and 5 formula increase. We can do more than one good thing for students and schools. Being hungry makes learning almost impossible. And again, there is not a literacy program or a math strategy that's going to improve scores if a student doesn't know where their next meal is coming from. We want students focused on learning, not stressing out about how much money is in their lunch account. And with so many students facing mental health challenges, this is something we can do that will help. This is a bill that ensures every student, K through 12 in Minnesota, is going to get the food they need while they're at school. This seems like an easy yes vote because it should be. And a bill that would be a tax cut for families seems like an easy yes vote because it should be. Today we have a chance to do something really good for kids, for parents, for teachers, and schools. We can vote yes today and make sure next school year every student gets what they need to be successful. So let's do that. Let's feed the kids.
The Secretary will take the roll on House File 5. Members, please vote. Senator Bowden, for those voting under Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. I report that Senator Dietzick votes aye.
Senator Dietzick votes aye.
I report that Senator McQuaid votes aye.
Senator McQuaid votes aye.
And I report that Senator Mann votes aye.
And Senator Mann votes aye. All senators having voted who desire to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There being 38 ayes and 26 noes, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Members, we will now proceed to the 13th order of business, announcements of Senate interest. Without objection, the following senators will be excused from today's session: Howell, Westrom all day, Lucero from 11:50 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., and Wiesenberg from 12:45 p.m. until the end. Any additional announcements? Senator Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. The Committee on State, Local, and Veterans Affairs will begin 10 minutes after adjournment. Thank you.
Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to get maybe from Senator Franz if he'd yield for a question.
Senator Franz, will you yield? He will yield. Senator Johnson.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. And Senator Franz, just wanted to get an update on the schedule, the floor schedule for the rest of the week. If you could kind of lay out the bills or what the schedule looks like going forward.
Senator Franz, to the question.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Johnson. Our intention would be to adjourn today until tomorrow at 11 a.m. and then come back Thursday. And I do think, while I can't identify specific bills, that there will be an email in your inbox this afternoon that will lay it out with a little more specificity, and I don't think it'll be a big surprise.
Senator Johnson.
Thank you,
Any
Mr. President.
additional announcements of Senate interest? Senator Hochschild.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to remind senators that our next Civility Caucus meeting will be tomorrow from 12 to 1 in room 323. Should be a good opportunity. We'll be hearing from Dr. David Schultz, who's a professor of political science at Hamline University. So come join us, and it should be a good time. We'll have food as well. Thank you.
Any additional announcements of Senate interest? Senator Frentz.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and members. I move that the Senate do now adjourn until Wednesday, March 15th at 11 a.m.
On that motion, all in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. The Senate is now adjourned.